disrupted.
America, July 4th.
Weird thing to happen. Hello, one and all. Welcome to this edition of Kitz Corner. Fantastic day so far. So I want to check in at the start here on MSNBC because they're not doing well. They're not doing well. They're mentally incapacitated. They're still in shell shock, PTSD mode over the sweep of Trump's victory on last week's election. They don't know what the hell to do. They are in panic mode. They're taking 9 ways to Sunday to blame everybody except the Democratic Party or themselves for that matter. They're not critiquing or analyzing or going over the wrongdoing of what Kamala Harris did to her own party. I took the opportunity to do so, and if anyone wants to read that article that I put on Substack, feel free to do so. kitzcorner.substack.com. Feel free to check out all the articles that I've written on Substack about the misgivings of Kamala Harris's campaign and how she basically fell flat on her face once again. That's what happened. The Democratic Party set up this campaign to fail once again. And this clip of Morning Joe that I'm about to show you here is kind of symbolic on how the media sets itself up to fail among people. And this is kind of the arrogance of particular individuals like Joe Scarborough comparing to reality, how he's completely disconnected, not even understanding the basics of what people in his community are dealing with. So take a look at this. This is Joe Scarborough, who still doesn't understand Trump's victory, but this is before the election, and he had a conversation about the economy. And watch how this went.
That probably contributed a good deal to it. I want to talk about economy for a second. A few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, somebody who was going to be voting for Kamala Harris came up to me and said, "Oh my God, Trump's going to win." I go, "Why is that?" He goes, I went to the grocery store. Butter's over $3. I kind of laughed and I said, "Well, that's kind of reductive, isn't it?" Said it to myself.
So I kind of feel like this is a bit of a fabricated story in the fact that Joe Scarborough is bring this to the forefront. Let's talk about the economy. Well, I met with some random person who's going to vote Kamala Harris. Normally people, if you're at a grocery store, aren't going to blurt out who they voted for. There had to be some sort of, measure into finding out exactly who this voting for. And the fact that supposedly whoever this is said, "Oh, Trump's going to win because butter's over $3. Well, yes, cost of food is obviously a burden to a lot of people. And the fact that Joe Scarborough is laughing at that and not actually taking measure on the fact that, oh, maybe food prices are a factor when it comes to electoral policies. Maybe when people are starving out in the streets, can't afford to feed their kids, their families, their loved ones, and keep a roof over their heads, and the economy is continuously failing beneath them. Yeah, I think that would be an issue brought up to the table and why people took mass droves to get away from the Biden-Harris slowdown of the economy to hopefully get a Trump promise of making America great again or making America healthy again, as now the tables up on that. So let me
That probably contributed a good deal to it. I want to talk about economy for a second. A few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, somebody who was going to be voting for Kamala Harris came up to me and said, "Oh my God, Trump's going to win." I go, "Why is that?" He goes, I went to the grocery store. Butter's over $3. I kind of laughed and I said, "Well, that's kind of reductive, isn't it?" Said it to myself. To him, I smiled and I said, "Good point." But it actually, what everything we're hearing after the election is,
I'm just saying, the $7.
What's that?
The $7.
What's that? Butter is $7?
Yeah.
What?
Some
Is
places.
it framed in gold?
Oh my God. my God. The reaction to that. Butter is $7? That's not what the servants had told me. Jeeves, Maria, where are my help? Oh my God. The reaction to that was just priceless. The reaction to that. Oh my God. Your butter is $7? Next thing you're going to tell me my hair product doesn't come from the waters of Fiji. It's actually saliva from dead animals. Oh my God. The fact that Mika, his wife, had to point that out. And even people in the room of Morning Joe are even laughing at Joe Scarborough's stupidity, of his utter arrogance. And that's what this is. This is utter arrogance. This should be the forefront of every single, journalist class, or every forefront of media literacy. This is like a pure example of the disconnect between corporate media stooges like Joe Scarborough and reality. The fact that he had to make up some story about, butter's like over $3, and I had to like smirk and laugh and think that was not a big deal. It turns out it is a big deal. And now you're telling me it's $7? Oh my God. I don't know much about, the lifestyle of the Scarboroughs, or, how they run their household, but something tells me I don't think they've ever stepped foot in a grocery store. Something tells me that they either have like a housekeeper, or some sort of servant, or maybe they get their groceries like delivered. I know that's kind of popular now with a lot of rich people. They just, it just drops right at the door. I don't have to actually go outside and interact with the pores. That's what journalists used to do back in the day. They were actually among blue-collar workers. They actually live in the same neighborhoods. They actually interact with a lot of everyday working people because they were everyday working people. But because of this stoogery, because of sellouts like Joe Scarborough, who peddle themselves as a celebrity on MSNBC, they don't understand. They have no connection with reality. I want to watch that again. That's funny.
I said, well, that's kind of reductive, isn't it? Said it to myself. To him, I smiled and I said, good point. But it actually, everything we're hearing after the election is,
I'm just saying,
$7.
the $7.
What's that?
The $7.
What's that? Butter is $7?
Yeah.
What?
Some
Is it
places.
framed in gold? Okay.
Depends on where you go. But
Okay, well, yeah, okay. Well,
$7.
anyway, my point is...
Okay. Well, how do I frame this? Not, attacking Kamala's economic policy that made this. He's completely stuck now. Because now they have to admit that, yes, cost of food is astronomical. It's worse under Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. It's worse, and it's going to get worse if people didn't roll the dice for Trump.
This, Willie, the rent is too damn high, and this guy was saying the cost of butter is way damn too high.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was a bit reductive. It ended up being just the point that if you look at the cost of groceries, if you look at the cost of gas, if you look at the cost of things compared to 4 years ago, it was a very simple answer for working class Americans. Things just cost too much.
yeah.
Yeah, no question about it. By the way, $7 is an outrage.
The reason this is so funny, because I know they're trying to set it up as a way to like shame people and like, oh, you're going to vote for Trump because you only care about food prices. But as they go into further detail and explain that, no, rent is also high, food is also high, energy prices are too high, gas prices are too high, no one can afford the basic essentials to survive in this world, you're actually making a compelling argument for people to go to Trump. I mean, they do say arrogance is bliss, so it's blissful to me to know that Joe Scarborough may have accidentally convinced his own audience for Trump. Ah, that was funny. That was hilarious. And all it took for him to not understand the price of butter. But you know for a fact they probably got some unpaid intern at MSNBC to like go down the street, like go to the corner store, go to Walgreens, go to whatever the place is. Go see what butter is. And it makes me think that whole story about, oh, I just ran into a Kamala supporter that says Trump's going to win because butter is so it's over $3. I think that's a little fabricated. It's so funny. They try to set it up as an attack on Trump, but it's actually more of an endorsement. Yeah, that's why a lot of people they have sided towards Trump because Trump had a bit of a better economy than the situation that we're in right now, where people have to scrounge around and find out if they're going to be able to have a hot meal or a roof over their head in the next couple of days. That might be a priority to people. That might be a priority to people to seek survival. So, what's interesting is that was before the election. That apparently Joe Scarborough accidentally just gave Trump the boost because he's such an arrogant prick. He doesn't understand the cost of food. Like, are we gonna have to play a game of Price is Right with him? Well, how much are a bag of peas, do you think? How much is the macaroni and cheese, the instant mac and cheese? How much do you think that is, Joe? Something tells me he gets his food. I don't think he's that foot in a store. Come on. Really? So that was before the election. Now, after is a whole different story. After really just shows the utter arrogance. You think that was crazy? You think that really showed just the absolute disregard of America as a whole? Here is what they said after the election that they still are saying to this day, and it's the utmost arrogant thing I have ever heard from MSNBC, almost so arrogant that it's resembled to a Klan meeting. And you'll see why in a second. Listen.
I just say really quickly, too, Democrats need to be mature, and they need to be honest. And they need to say, yes, there's.
Democrats need to be mature. They need to be honest, as opposed to all the years that I've never been honest. Which is kind of the reason why nobody watches this crap. Nobody watches this crap. In fact, the only reason I'm showing you these clips is because I have a show. And I have to point out the utter garbage by these two. By Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski. By the way, can I just, all seriousness, it is a lovely picture to see here. It's a lovely picture to see here. What a diverse crowd they got at MSNBC. I mean, you got Microsoft NBC hosting a warmonger's daughter, a ex-Republican senator, I do believe, senator or congressman. forget Joe Scarborough's. So you have those two that look like a healthy hostage couple there. And then you also got featuring the Fed propped up pastor who's hip enough to be edgy enough and side with the CIA and the intelligence agency, which is why he has a show on that network. What a healthy, diverse crowd. What a healthy, diverse crowd. Now let's share that diversity by shaming others. Watch.
Misogyny. But it's not just misogyny from white men. It's misogyny from Hispanic men.
Right.
It's misogyny from black men. Things we've all been talking about, who do not want a woman leading them. Might be race issues with Hispanics. They don't want a black woman as president of the United States. You know, the Democratic Party, I've always found when you're sitting around talking, they love to just sort of balkanize everybody into these separate groups and say, oh, white people don't like women and black people. No, it is time for the Democrats to say, okay, and you and I have talked about this before, a lot of Hispanic voters have problems with black candidates.
Right.
A lot
and
of,
with other Hispanics. You got some that
exactly.
don't like each other. And,
Right.
and some of the most misogynist things I've heard going on this Get Out the Vote tour came from black men. I mean, misogynist things. So you're absolutely right. It's
Wow. Talk about the most inclusive Klans meeting I've ever witnessed. It's not just the fact that whites are misogynist, it's also black people, it's also Latinos, and apparently Latinos are also angry at black people, and black people are angry at Latinos, and Latinos are angry at Latinos, and it's all your fault. Why can't you just get into line, vote for the most horrendous candidate ever, and just trust me on the fact that it's a woman, it's fine. Oh my God. This is the moment, this is the clip, this video. With Joe Scarborough confused on the prices of basic groceries. And this. If I had the power to regulate every college, every educational institution, I'd be showing this nonstop to people and educating them on why exactly legacy media is failing, absolutely failing towards people. That they're basically on their deathbeds at the point. And this is why. This is why. Because there's such a deep, utter arrogance. Such an deep, utter disconnect from mainstream reality. Like regular people. That they can't even comprehend anything. Any measure on why exactly people came of all walks of life. Let's not forget that Trump was able to get a lot of the black votes, a lot of the Latino votes, a lot of the immigrant votes, a lot of Amish votes. He was able to cultivate a lot of different counties across America. He was even successful enough to pull off a lot of California. California is slowly becoming a pure red state. You know, you still got a lot of the blue districts with Los Angeles and San Francisco and a lot of the metropolitan areas, but it's slowly becoming a red state. Same with New York State. Other than Syracuse and Albany and, mainstream New York City and maybe Buffalo for that matter, a lot of it is coming out red. A lot of it's coming out red. But if you notice, a lot of people that are voting red are also voting for ballot initiatives that are considered progressive. They're voting for higher wages. They're voting for better regulations on on Wall Street. They're voting for to support abortion rights in a lot of red states. They're supporting for health care. They're supporting for legalization of marijuana. So to not understand that, to not comprehend that, to not even have the utmost curiosity to think, hey, maybe as a journalist, I should maybe look into that. Maybe I should talk to people. Maybe I should analyze that. Maybe I should take all the people that are working in this building, all the hundreds of thousands of employees that work at NBC, MSNBC, and maybe actually interact with people. But they don't do that, do they? They don't do that. Because these are arrogant, fooling, goddamn sociopaths that are just stenographers for the state. They go in, they sit at their desk, they time whatever's on the teleprompter for an hour a day. They get whatever, $1,000 in paychecks to do this periodically, and then they go back to their penthouses. They go back to their estates on Fifth Avenue. They have no awareness of what's happening, of what's occurring. And the same goes for celebrities like Bill Maher. People like Bill Maher who have talk shows in California and talk about, well, I'm hip with the regular crowd. I know what's going on. And then when someone brings attention, hey, Bill, do you realize that California is an entire population is among tent cities? Do you notice how there's a homelessness epidemic in California, Bill? Bill goes, what? What? I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't see any tents. I don't see any tents. Do you see tents? I think California was okay. Yay, Gavin Newsom. That's because of his utter arrogance. It's because he is a celebrity who's been circulating in his own bubble for the last 20, 30 years in his career. And he doesn't witness the everyday activities of normal Americans. He doesn't go to the main streets. He doesn't go down to, the impoverished areas. He goes right from his studio right to his house. Same with MSNBC. They go right to the newsroom and then right home. And then they hang out with their celebrity buddies and their elitists and other people for access. So this shows the utter arrogance of mainstream television. This shows the utter arrogance of legacy media, of legacy news coverage. And it's because of this arrogance that may have substantially helped Trump in a lot of different ways. The fact that Joe Scarborough is it's so idiotically stupid not to comprehend how much food is costing Americans, and going to the point of making up a story to try to smash Trump to support Kamala Harris, even though you just literally gave a perfect example of why people should vote for Trump. Yeah, the rent is too high. Food prices are too high. People can't afford basic essentials. That's going to aid Trump. That's going to help him. That's not going to diminish his record. That's going to help him. And now because Trump won, now you're resorting to, it's the racists. It's misogyny. Even though just literally prior to the election, you said it was cost of living, which affects everybody. It affects a lot of people. And it's one of the many, many different priorities why people in staggering numbers came out in support of Trump and refused to support Kamala Harris. One of the many things. But Joe Scarborough, Mika Brzezinski, and Al Sharpton are just so full up their own asses, they can't even understand what the nation dealt with, what the nation's dealing with, and why they did what they did.